Nathan was a young, ambitious man from the city. He worked hard at his job in the bank, and he had always been the kind of person who valued relationships deeply, but, like every person, Nathan was faced with a dilemma. His heart was torn between two women, both of whom he cared for deeply. Both were beautiful in their own ways, but Nathan knew that he had to choose one to marry. The problem was, he didn't know who would be the right one for him. His journey with Faith, the First Lady, started back in university. They had dated for years, and everything seemed perfect. Faith was intelligent, beautiful, and full of dreams. She had always been by Nathan's side, supporting him through the ups and downs of their university years. But then, life had a way of shifting things. Faith got a job offer in a different city, and though their relationship remained strong, the distance between them grew. Nathan had visited her occasionally, and she had come to visit him as well, but over time, they both realized that the long-distance thing was becoming difficult. Nathan missed her presence, but he was still unsure whether their relationship could survive the distance. Then, one fateful day, a new chapter began. One weekend, while Nathan was in the city on work leave, he met Gift, a youth court member who had recently been posted to the city for her service year. Gift was everything Nathan didn't expect. She was spontaneous, joyful, and full of life. They clicked instantly. Nathan couldn't help but be drawn to her energy and warmth. Over time, they began to spend more time together. They laughed, shared stories, and even had some quiet, thoughtful moments. Gift was easy to talk to, and Nathan couldn't help but fall for her. Nathan was now stuck. Faith was still in his life, and he still cared for her. But Gift had entered his life in a way that he never expected, and she had become someone special to him as well. He found himself asking, who is the better choice for me? Who really loves me for who I am? The dilemma started weighing on Nathan's heart. He didn't want to hurt anyone, but he knew he couldn't continue leading two lives. He needed to choose the woman who would stand beside him for the rest of his life. But how could he know who truly loved him? His friend, Michael, noticed Nathan's distress. One evening, they sat at a local bar, talking over cold drinks. "Bro, you're in a serious dilemma," Michael said, laughing a little. "But hey, if you want to know who truly loves you, you need to test them. You need to see who'll stand by you when everything falls apart. The woman who stays with you in your worst moment, that's the one you marry." Nathan sat quietly for a while, thinking about Michael's words. It made sense. It wasn't about the smiles and laughter they all loved that. It was about who would stay with him when things got tough. But how could he test them without causing heartbreak? Nathan came up with a plan, one that seemed simple, but would reveal everything he needed to know. He took some time off from work, packed up all his belongings, and moved them into storage. He left his apartment with only a mat on the floor, no furniture, and a few basic essentials. The plan was simple. He would tell both Faith and Gift that his life had taken a turn for the worse. He would tell them that he had lost his job, that he was accused of fraud, and that everything he owned had been taken away because of his debts. He would test them both to see who would stay, who would care for him even when there was nothing left to give. The first to arrive was Gift. Nathan had already put his plan into motion, and he was prepared. When she arrived at his apartment, her face dropped as she saw the empty house and the mat on the floor. "Nathan, what happened?" Gift asked, her voice filled with concern. "Why didn't you tell me about all this?" Nathan wiped his face with his sleeve, pretending to cry. "I lost my job, Gift. They accused me of fraud. They took everything I had. The bank even took my car and furniture. I'm a mess right now. I don't know what to do." Gift stood in the doorway, her face a mixture of shock and sympathy, but after a while, she stepped forward, put her hands on her hips, and shook her head. "I'm sorry, Nathan," she said, her voice cold. "This is not the life I signed up for. I can't be with someone who is this unstable. I'm sorry." With that, Gift turned around and walked out of his life. She blocked him on social media, stopped replying to his calls and messages, and soon disappeared from his world entirely. Nathan was hurt, but he also realized something. Gift had been in it for the excitement, the good times. But when life got hard, she chose to walk away. That was a wake-up call for Nathan. He knew now what he had to do, but he still had one more test to conduct. Next came Faith, the woman he had been with for years. He sent her a message, telling her the same story he had told Gift. He explained how everything had fallen apart, and that he had nowhere to turn. Faith, being the kind and caring woman she was, didn't hesitate. She called him right away and told him she was coming to see him. When Faith arrived at his apartment, she was visibly upset. She asked him all the right questions, checking if he was okay, making sure he was not in immediate danger. She brought him some food, and after they ate, she sat with him and reassured him that everything would be okay. She even called her uncle to help him get some money to start a small business. "I won't leave you, Nathan," Faith said softly. "I'll help you get back on your feet. This isn't the end of the world. You don't have to go through this alone." Nathan could hardly believe it. Faith was willing to support him even after everything that had happened. She even bought him a mattress to sleep on so that he wouldn't have to sleep on the hard floor. When she had to go back to her station for work, she promised to return with more help, more love, and more support. Days turned into weeks, and Nathan's feelings for Faith began to grow stronger. He knew he had made the right choice. Faith had stayed. She hadn't run away. She had shown him the love and care that he had needed. She had proven herself, and Nathan knew that she was the one who truly loved him, no matter the circumstances. But Nathan still had one final conversation to have. He needed to tell Faith the truth. He needed to confess everything. He wanted to explain why he had tested her, why he had put her through that trial. He wasn't sure how she would react, but he knew it was time. As Faith sat in front of him, looking concerned, Nathan took a deep breath. "Faith, there's something I need to tell you," he began. "The story I told you about losing my job, it wasn't true. I wanted to test you, to see if you really loved me. And I can't believe it, but you passed. You stayed by me when things got tough." Faith's eyes widened. She stared at him in shock, and for a moment, there was silence. But then, Faith spoke softly. "You tested me, Nathan?" she asked, her voice hurt but not angry. "Why would you do that? Why would you put me through this?" Nathan felt guilty, but he knew this was the right time to confess everything. "I'm sorry, Faith. I should have trusted you from the start. I was confused, unsure of what love really was. But now I know. You've shown me the love I needed, the love that endures through thick and thin. I'm so sorry." Faith looked at him for a long time, and then she smiled. "You know, Nathan, love isn't about tests. It's about understanding, patience, and commitment. I'm not perfect, but I'm here for you, through everything." The two of them hugged, and in that moment, Nathan knew that Faith was the one he wanted to spend his life with. They had overcome a trial together, and their love had only grown stronger because of it. Weeks passed after Nathan confessed to Faith, and their relationship began to strengthen in ways he hadn't imagined. Nathan was overwhelmed by how much Faith was willing to forgive, and how she had chosen to stay by his side. It was a humbling experience, one that made Nathan realize how wrong he had been to test her love. But as their bond deepened, Nathan also began to learn something even more important. Love doesn't grow out of tests or trials. It flourishes when nurtured with trust, respect, and kindness. The guilt Nathan had carried for testing Faith was something he knew he had to let go of. Faith was an amazing woman, strong, kind, and loyal. She was more than what he had ever dreamed of, and he began to truly see her for who she was, not just as someone he could rely on, but as the partner who completed him. However, the road ahead was not without challenges. Nathan and Faith both faced some difficult conversations, and they had to address some issues that had been lingering in the background. But each time they faced an obstacle, they learned to work together and communicate openly, realizing that no challenge was too great for them to overcome as long as they were honest with each other. One evening, after a long day at work, Nathan sat down in his small living room, his mind replaying the events of the past few weeks. He had been feeling a deep sense of gratitude toward Faith for how much she had supported him, but he also knew that he had to do more to prove that he was worthy of her love. "Faith, I've been thinking," Nathan began, as he watched her prepare dinner in the kitchen, the sound of her laughter lightening up the atmosphere. She turned to him, wiping her hands on a dish towel. "Thinking about what?" she asked, raising an eyebrow. "I want to do something special for you," Nathan said, his heart racing with the thought of taking their relationship to the next level. "You've done so much for me, and I think it's time for me to show you how much I appreciate you." Faith smiled, clearly touched by his words. "You don't need to do anything, Nathan. You've already shown me more love than I could ever ask for." Nathan shook his head, stepping closer to her. "No, Faith, I want to do something big, something that'll show you how serious I am. I've been a fool in the past, but I don't want to make that mistake anymore. I want to make things right." "Make things right?" Faith repeated, her eyes narrowing in curiosity. "Yes," Nathan replied. "I want to show you how much I value you. I want to take you somewhere special. I want to take you on a trip, just the two of us, to somewhere peaceful and beautiful. I want to start building our future together, and I want you to know that you're my priority." Faith's eyes softened, and she smiled warmly. Nathan, you don't have to do all of that. What matters is that we have each other, but I appreciate the gesture, I really do. I know, Nathan said, taking her hand gently. But I want you to know that you mean the world to me. I'm committed to making our relationship stronger than ever. The weeks that followed were filled with moments of joy and love. Nathan and Faith's bond grew even deeper as they traveled to a peaceful village by the coast. The trip was simple, just the two of them walking hand in hand, enjoying the calm breeze by the beach and savoring the quiet beauty of nature. They spent time exploring new places, eating local delicacies, and sharing stories they had never told each other before. On their trip, Nathan realized that this was the life he had always wanted. A life of love, honesty, and trust. No more tests, no more confusion. He finally understood that real love doesn't come from material things or from moments of drama. It comes from being with someone who truly understands and supports you. As they returned from their trip, Nathan's mind was filled with a new sense of clarity. He knew what he wanted. He wanted to marry Faith, to spend the rest of his life with her. But before he could ask her the big question, there was one thing he needed to do. He needed to make things right with his family. It had been a while since he had spoken to his parents about Faith. In the past, he had been hesitant to introduce her, thinking that they would disapprove because of her background. Faith didn't come from a wealthy family, and Nathan had once feared that his parents wouldn't accept her. But he knew now that he couldn't let these fears stop him. Faith was the woman he loved, and his family needed to accept that. One Sunday afternoon, Nathan decided to invite his parents over for dinner. He knew it would be a big step, but he was ready. As he prepared the meal, Faith helped him set the table, and together, they made sure everything was perfect. When his parents arrived, they were surprised by the warmth and hospitality in Nathan's home. Faith greeted them with a smile and a respectful handshake, and Nathan could see the approval in his parents' eyes as they saw how much she cared for him. Dinner was a simple affair, but the conversation flowed easily. Nathan's mother asked Faith about her upbringing, and Faith explained how she had worked hard to get to where she was today. She spoke about her family, her values, and how she had always believed in hard work and dedication. Nathan's father, a man of few words, sat back and listened. But after a while, he nodded and said, "You've raised a good man, Faith. I can see how much Nathan cares for you, and that means a lot to us." Nathan felt a weight lift off his shoulders as he realized that his family had accepted Faith, just as he had hoped. That night, as they sat on the porch watching the stars, Nathan knew it was time to take the next step. "Faith," Nathan began, his voice soft but steady, "I've been thinking a lot lately, and I want to ask you something important." Faith looked at him, her heart racing with anticipation. "What is it, Nathan?" "I want to spend the rest of my life with you," Nathan said, his eyes locked on hers. "Will you marry me?" Tears welled up in Faith's eyes as she looked at him. She had never been more certain of anything in her life. "Yes, Nathan, I will marry you." As Nathan slipped the ring onto her finger, he felt like he had finally found his true calling. He had tested his love for her in many ways, and now he knew that what they had was real. It wasn't about material things or proving anything. It was about trust, respect, and a commitment to building a future together. The days that followed were filled with wedding preparations, and soon enough, they were standing before their friends and family, exchanging vows in a beautiful ceremony. Nathan and Faith's love had stood the test of time, and now they were ready to take on the world as husband and wife. But the story doesn't end there. It was only the beginning. Nathan and Faith learned that true love isn't without its challenges, but with the right person by your side, there's nothing you can't overcome together. Lesson learned. In the end, Nathan learned that true love isn't about testing someone or trying to control the outcome of a relationship. Love is about acceptance, honesty, and building trust. It's about understanding the person you're with and supporting each other through thick and thin. Nathan's journey taught him that love is never about tests or challenges. It's about being true to yourself and the person you love. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more thrilling tales. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. We love hearing from you. And stay tuned for the next chapter of our incredible story.